morning. We're going to start the angle relationships review video. So for this one, everybody, so we're doing angle relationships. So it's going to be, remember we start with our given, our Gibby. So line R is parallel to line S. Okay, so we always write what we know on there. So that's our given. Everybody, this is always first. And then we need to prove that alternate exterior angles are congruent. So I'm going to use angle A and angle H. Okay, so angle A and E are congruent because they are corresponding angles. Remember, same side of the transversal. Okay, so same side of the transversal, skip one. So that's our corresponding angle theorem. Okay, and then we have angle E is congruent to angle H because they are vertical angles. Remember from our packet, we proved that. So vertical angles. The vertical angle congruence theorem. Okay, and now we know that angle H, okay, so angle A is congruent to angle E, and angle E is also congruent to angle H. So then angle A is going to be congruent to angle H by our transitive property. Okay, so now, so therefore, alternate exterior angles, so remember alternate, so opposite outside angles are congruent. Okay, so we also have for the next one, so we're going to have prove that vertical angles are congruent. So vertical angles, so that means everybody, if I take, okay, so I'm going to do my diagram. Okay, so if I rotate, so everybody remember we did that with the patty paper, so we're going to rotate 180 degrees onto the other angle. Okay, so if I take and rotate it 180 degrees onto the other angle, okay, then the angles are congruent because of rigid motion. Okay, so we also need to do this for corresponding angles. So we need to prove that corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, so we would say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. Okay, so everybody remember, because we can translate. Okay, so we can translate up or down to the other angle, and then write out the word angle. Then the angles are congruent. Because of rigid motion. So translate, everybody remember, means to slide. So we're going to slide it down. Okay, so we're going to translate it down. Translate, everybody remember, is slide. We're going to slide it down. We're going to do the electric slide. So translate up or down to the other angle. Then the angles are congruent because of rigid motion. So we translate it down. Okay, so this one, it says name a pair of the following angles. So angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. They are across from each other. A linear pair would be angles 1 and angle 2. They are next to each other. So they are like this, and they form a straight line, 180 degrees. Corresponding angles. So we have angle 3 and angle 6 corresponding, same side, skip one. Corresponding angles are congruent. Alternate exterior angles, so that means alternate inside. So we have angle 4 and angle 5 are alternate interior, and also angle 8 and 3. Alternate exterior, so for E, write it over here, I'm writing too big. So we have angle 1 and angle 6. Okay, consecutive interior, so it means the same side, so same side of this transversal on the inside. So angle 4, same side inside, and angle 8, and they are equal to 180. Consecutive outside, so angle 2 and angle 6. And we also have angle 1 and 7. Okay, so this one. So these are alternate interior angles. So they're both equal to 84 degrees. Okay, solve for this one. So this is going to be corresponding. Same side, skip one. So these are congruent. So it's 53 degrees. This one, linear pair. So they are supplementary. So I'm going to set them equal to 180. I'm going to combine like terms, so I'm going to add the ones that are the same together. So 5x plus 9x is 14x. 15 plus 11 is 26. I subtract 26 from each side. Make sure you bring down that 14x. 180 minus 26 is going to be 154. 154 divided by 14 is going to equal 11. So these ones, consecutive, okay, interior. So that means that they're equal to 180. So I do 5x plus 15 plus 9x plus 11 is equal to 180. Combine like terms. We subtract 180 minus 26 to get 154. 154 divided by 14 is 11. Yes, it's the same numbers as number 8. You are exactly right. Okay, so this one says solve for x. So these are vertical angles. Okay, so we're going to set those two equal to each other. Subtract 5x from each side. So x is equal to 10. What's the measure of the angle? So I'm going to pick either one. So I'm going to go 6x is equal to, I substitute in 10. 6 times 10 is 60. Okay, solve for x. These are corresponding. Okay, so corresponding angles, remember same side, skip one. So we set them equal to each other and subtract 6x from each side. I do that so I don't have to have a negative x value. Subtract 5 from each side. Remember what we do on the one side, we have to do the other side, got to keep it balanced. Okay, what's the measure of the angle, everybody? So we have a second step. I can choose either one. Okay, so I'm going to do 7. I'm going to substitute in the 8. Okay, 7 times 8, okay, is, so 7 times 8 is 56 plus 5. It's going to give us 61 degrees. Okay, so for this one, everybody, so we have, it's going to be solve for x. So it's going to be these two. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down. So I'm going to translate. So this one is corresponding angles. So if this is 60, that means that this is also 60. Okay, and then when I look at these two together, okay, remember they're supplementary, so that's a linear pair. So I'm going to go x plus 20 plus 60 is equal to 180. Combine like terms, so I add 20 plus 60. Subtract 80 from each side. 180 minus 80 is 100. Okay, this one, same thing again. So solve for x. So I'm going to use my corresponding angle. So I'm going to slide it down. Same side, skip one. So if that's 65, okay, so both those angles are 65. This is a linear pair again. So same thing. So x plus 75 plus 65 is equal to 180. 75 plus 65 is 140. Subtract 140 from each side. We get x is equal to 40. Okay, this one, it says, given alternate exterior angles are congruent. Okay, so remember that means that these inside ones on opposite sides. Alternate, opposite. Okay, so opposite sides, inside. So we're going to use, okay, so we're given that those two are congruent. So angles, I'm going to use angles C and angle F. So angle C is congruent to angle F, and that is a given. Okay. Angle C is congruent to angle B because they are diagonally across from each other, so they are vertical angles. And that's by our vertical angle congruence theorem. Okay. And then angle, okay, so if we have angle C is congruent to F, and angle C is also congruent to angle B, then that means that angle F is congruent to angle B by our transitive property. Okay, so now we're ready for our proof. So line R is parallel to line S by our corresponding angle converse. So CAC. Okay, so this one. So now we have, okay, so we have these ones. So these are alternate exterior angles. Okay, so alternate exterior. So opposite sides outside. So that means that they're congruent. So I'm going to go 2x plus 12 is equal to x plus 34. Subtract the x from each side. So I'm going to get x plus 12. That's going to be 0 is equal to 34. So I bring that 34 down. Subtract 12 from each side. Everybody, again, remember what we do on the one side. Got to do the other side. If you want to do a line like that, that can help you too. Okay, and we get 22. Okay. Notice, so make sure you're reading what's the measure of the angle. So we are not done. So I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to go x plus 34 I'm going to substitute in 22. 22 plus 34 is 56 degrees. Okay, same for this one, everybody. So find the value that makes it equal. So these are alternate, okay, opposite sides, inside. So alternate interior, I like those angles. So I'm going to have 2x plus 52 is equal to 3x minus 35. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 2x from each side. I get 52 is equal to x minus 35. I'm going to add 35 to each side. Okay, so we add it together. Okay, so we have this one. Okay, we're not done. It says, what's the measure of the angle? So we're going to have to add that in. So I'm going to have to go, okay, so I'm going to have to go 2 times 87 plus 52. Okay, so we're going to have to multiply those together. Okay, so I add those together, so I'm going to get 226 degrees. Everybody always remember to double check with a calculator. Okay, almost done. Okay, last step, everybody. So this one, so I'm going to take and I'm going to corresponding angles again. So remember, this is just like using a map or grid map. Okay, so these are consecutive. Okay, so this is a different measure. Consecutive exterior angles. So I'm going to set them equal to 180. Remember, we always combine like terms, so I'm going to add my x's together and my numbers. Okay, so we're going to have 4x minus 10 is equal to 180. Add 10 to each side, so I get 4x is equal to 190. 190 divided by 4 is 47.5. Okay, so everybody know you can get decimals. It is okay to do that. So this one, so I'm going to use corresponding angles again. Okay. And then these, okay, are, so we're just looking at this part. Okay, so these are still consecutive exterior angles. Okay, so based on, I'm just looking at this top part. Sorry, it wasn't showing that. Okay, so corresponding. So we slide it up. So this is also 3x minus 17. These two are consecutive exterior angles. Okay, so consecutive exterior. I'm going to set them equal to 180. I combine like terms. And yes, the numbers are the same. Okay, right equation that passes through the line. So everybody remember parallel? Okay, means they're going to be like this. Okay, and they have the same slope. Okay, so parallel has the same slope. Same slope, different y-intercepts. Okay, so they have different b values. Okay, so different y-intercepts. Okay, so this one, so remember it's y is equal to mx plus b. Color. Oh, probably tired of these colors. Okay, so we're gonna do. So remember, it has going to have the same slope. Okay, so it's going to be y is equal to 7x plus b. I'm going to use this point. Okay, so that point right there, I'm going to write it right here is 2x. So I'm going to take it, substitute it in. So I'm going to substitute it into this equation to solve for the y-intercept for b. So I'm going to have 6 is equal to 7 times 2 plus b. So times 2 is 14. Subtract 14 from each side. 6 minus 14 is going to be negative 8. Okay, so b is negative 8. So I'm going to substitute it in for b into my equation. So now I'm going to have y is equal to 7x minus 8. Okay, write an equation that is perpendicular. Perpendicular, everybody remember, is opposite reciprocal. So opposite sign, opposite reciprocal. Flip the fraction. Perpendicular. Okay, perpendicular, remember, everybody remembers, means that they're going to cross, intersect at 90-degree angles. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this. So opposite. Okay, so everybody notice how this is negative. Okay, so it's going to be the opposite sign, so it's going to be positive. And we're going to flip the fraction, so it's going to become 11 over 8x plus b. I'm still going to use my point, okay, because that's the point that's on this line. We need to find it, so we're going to substitute those in. Okay, so remember, I can go ahead and simplify. So 4 divides into 8 2 times. Okay, so now I have 4 is equal to 11 halves plus b. Okay, so we're going to have b is equal to 4 minus 11 halves. So for the 4, everybody, if I take and multiply it, because I need to get it to have the same denominator. So I'm going to, whole numbers over 1. Let me redo that. So 4 over 1, we're going to multiply it by 2 halves because we need to get it to have the same denominator as this one. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. So I'm going to get 8 halves minus 11 halves. We use the top numbers. 8 minus 11 is negative 3. So we get negative 3 halves for b. Whew. Okay, we got this. We love our fractions. Okay, so now I can write my equation. So y is equal to 11/8 x minus, I'm going to put a minus, 3 halves. You could also put plus negative 3 halves, but normally we just write it as a minus. And that's it. Read the questions carefully. You got this.